Welcome to the SmartCell Insight or SCI demonstration series for 3.6. In this demonstration, I will show you the interface functionality and capabilities of the client details report. I will cover the information displayed and how the output can be filtered, providing a report for a specific period of time. So let's get started. First, we're going to log into SCI. And you're going to see the first thing that comes up is actually the Overview tab. We're going to concentrate on the Client Details tab here, but first I want to show you that clients can be discovered by a MAC address of the client. However, many times you're going to reach this area by using a click-through in other reports. Let me show you an example of that. We're going to go to the Clients tab here, and we're going to see a couple of top 10 clients over to the right here. Let's go ahead and just click on one of these. And we can see it takes us to that specific client. So many of these reports do provide a click-through for a client details. And anytime you click on that, you're going to get to this client details report. In this case, we're going to just go ahead and click on the client details and put in a MAC address of a device. And as that comes up, we can see that we get a detailed report of that specific client. Do note that we have a date range up at the top right here that we can adjust depending on what we want to look at. We're going to keep it at this day range that we have right now though. So as you can see that the client's IP address, its MAC address, operating system, and manufacturer can be viewed. Further, we can see its status. In this case, it's connected, and at the last IP that it's connected to. In this case, we can see this is a click-through to the AP Details tab. So if I were to click on this, it would take us to that AP Details, and we would be able to see specific values based on it. Over to the right, you see we have the status of that particular client, and we can see the total APs the client is connected to. In this case, it's just one, so we have a stable connection. That could be because this is a Apple TV or something of that nature, as you can see here. We also see its average rate, the user traffic, and its sessions, and we don't see a session length right now because it only has one session and it's still connected. We can see that the bandwidth is broken down into two sections based on its radio usage and specific the values of each one of these radios. Now right below that we see the top 10 applications by traffic volume. Now if the controller that was set up to collect application data, it can be displayed here based on the client's usage. In this case, it's not being reported to SCI, so it's blank. Now, as we move down, we can see that we have a first graph. Now, graphs can provide granular detail in a 1 minute, 15 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 week, and this is all depending on the date range that you have chosen. As we mentioned earlier, we're just in a day that we see up at the top. So in this example of a day, we can see the graph can provide details down to a minute, and let's take a look at that and see. So we can see 1 minute can actually be chosen, so let's go ahead and do that. However, you can see the default was 15 minutes. And so that does provide you an overall good view. And you can see this sometimes can be overwhelming. Now, if you're wanting to go in there and do specific troubleshooting, this can provide you valuable data based on those minute values. We're going to move it back to 15 minutes though. Now notice if we hover over this graph, we can see we have unique values here that can be displayed based on that time period. Each one of them represents the transmit and receive and the total user traffic. Now in this particular graph, we can deselect any one of these values if we so choose by just checking the box that we see that's solid over to the right. So if we were just wanting to see the total user traffic, we can do so by deselecting the transmit and the receive, or we could break down to just the transmit and receive and get detailed information based on those values. As mentioned, as you can see, the traffic trend is an effective way of being able to view from the AP's perspective when troubleshooting a client if the client does provide you the time frames in which they are having trouble. So you can go over or look at that particular time period and possibly indicate the values as well as the traffic radio by radio as well. We're going to see down further that there's other details or indicators that will provide us details as well. Now you can see the next graph we see below is the traffic by radio. Now traffic by radio allows us to view the radio usage of the client, and we can see here that the user is stable at 5G. Notice that if I uncheck the 2.4, really nothing changes from a graphical perspective. If we were to uncheck the user all radios, you can see that that user has been consistently on 5G because it matches pretty much the user all radios value as well. Let's do a search on a different user and maybe we can get a different idea or a different perspective of radio usage based on that client. So let me go ahead and put that client in here real quick. And indeed, we can see different values. Also note we have different values up at the top here when it comes to the stats of that particular client as well. So as we scroll down, we can see there is different radios being used, and each one of these can be selected or unselected based on the radio that we want to view. Also, it's handy to be able to see that this particular user, when they're connecting and when they're not connecting. So we can see that there's no values based on the particular sections that we see here from a time perspective. And we can see it can jump from the June 8th, 23:30 hour, and it jumps over to the June 9th at 11:30 hour. So we can see that it also helps us and identify when those radios are being used and the time periods in which they're connecting. Now as we scroll down, our next sections we can see is the RSS trend and the signal to noise ratio. And as we can imagine, this is great data that is being collected for users based on their RSS and SNR trend, which is effective in indicating problems for that client. Do keep in mind these are from the AP's perspective. Now it's important to note that these particular graphs can be changed when it comes to a date range and how granular you want that information to be displayed. This is unique to these graphs, and so each one of these could represent a different date range if we so choose. And just like the other graphs, this information can be deselected by clicking on the solid boxes or the squared boxes. And lastly, on the Client Details tab, we can see that there is a Sessions section here. By default, it provides us the last 1,000 sessions of this particular user, and it breaks it down to on each session that they have recorded or that they've connected. It not only shows their first connection, but their deconnect time, their session duration, the AP that they connected to, the SSID within that AP, and the radios that they're connected, and then even further, the data in which they use while connected. Now we can go in and extend this to 2,000, 5,000, as well as all the sessions of this particular user based on the date range we have up at the top. These you can see from the AP name, you can see these are click-throughs as well, providing us the ability to go to that AP details page to see more information about that particular AP. This table also can be modified by selecting or deselecting any of the settings that you see over here as well, and then those would be updated or displayed according to what is selected. Now with most all the reports that we see in SCI, you can see that we can also download this report. We can do it either in a CSV or a PDF format, and it just provides us the ability to either print this out or save this in electronic form and be able to send it out to people. The next you see up at the top is the saved forms or saved filters. However, I'm not sure if that's effective in this particular client report simply because we've isolated this client down to by its MAC address or through a click-through. But you can save this if you so choose. However, I just don't think it's effective in this layout. We've already mentioned that you can change different date ranges on that particular user based on this value here. And we can even set up a schedule, meaning we would send this out on a regular basis based on the values that we provide here. This would be individual to this particular report or this particular user. We could put in new schedule, we could put it in a name, you could see, we could put in the format in which we want, and also the repeat frequency, meaning that we could do it on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly value based on this specific client. A final thought, since we did change from a different client that we had originally, we can see also the stats up here provide great detail of that particular client. In this case, we see that it has 46 unique APs that it connected to, its average throughput rate, as well as the user's traffic total, its applications, which if they were displayed or provided to SCI would be displayed here, the sessions, as well as the average session length. And lastly, the bandwidth that is used by that user based on the radio that is connected to. I hope this client details report video is helpful to you. There are many other in this series that provide more details of each one of the tabs you see over to the left. I encourage you to go check those out and be able to provide you a robust and a full understanding of the reports that you can receive within the SCI client. Thank you for taking the time of watching this video.